Welcome to Adventurin 101. I'm Uncle Cletus. I fought and killed damn near everything in the 9 realms, and it's my job to keep you alive. Today, we are talking about mimics. Quick, wizard, what is a mimic?
It's Roan, sir. A mimic is a shapeshifting predator able to take on the form of an inanimate object in order to lure creatures to their doom.
No, a cop. Well, that is technically correct, but it shows you know absolutely nothing about mimics. A mimic is just an ooze with a hardening mechanic. I've got a hardening mechanic too. Ask your mothers.
Anyway, Uncle Cletus, if mimics are just oozes, why do they look like doors and chests and other objects?
Cloaky, what is the first rule of being an assassin?
It's Nox, sir.
Whatever, answer the question.
Don't be perceived until the very last second, and even then, only the target's ghost should see you.
Precisely. See, mimics work under the exact same principle. They harden themselves into a shape, and then wait long enough for someone to come by, and then they eat them.
Aren't oozes just amorphous blobs like Roan's mom? My father was a bit of a freak.
Aren't we all? But yes, Cloaky, oozes are amorphous blobs, but that's also a mimic's natural state. You never see them like that, because they're always flexing, but when you hurt them enough and they flee, you see their gross, gray, amorphous blobby skin.
Just like Roan's mom. Watch it. You're not wrong.
Watch it.
So how do we not get eaten?
Excellent question. So there I was, deep in a dungeon, and I needed to drain the old kobold. So I found myself in front of 2 identical bathroom doors. Now how did I know which one was a mimic?
Pure luck?
No, a Kara. I use my patented PISS system. It stands for Perceive, Investigate, Search, and Stab. And if you follow it exactly, you will survive.
Did you call it that because you were standing in front of a bathroom when you came up with it?
No, a Kara. Step 1, you need to perceive. You gotta learn to trust your senses when you're in a dungeon, so if something feels off, it probably is.
But mimics are nearly indistinguishable from real objects, so how can you really tell?
Pay attention to everyday objects. No one cares about the details on a door when they've seen that door a dozen times. And that is how mimics get you. Because you've seen the door, so you're expecting a door, but you don't notice anymore that the doorknob don't look right. Or that the wood pattern isn't going the right way.
That's similar to how I sneak around. People don't expect me to be in their houses, so when the floor creaks unexpectedly, they just kind of chalk it up to settling noises.
You're not walking around my house, are you?
No, sir, I would never.
I'm watching you.
Always watching.
Anyway, mimics can get close, but they can't get it perfect because they aren't very bright. Has to do with how they were made.
No one knows how they were made, man.
Then call me no one, because I was there. Cletus, I've done it! What have you done now? I've successfully combined a gray ooze with the camouflaging abilities of an octopus. My creation can become mundane objects to hunt prey unsuspectingly. Why would you do that? I needed something to protect the treasure in my dungeon. Now I just need a name. So it mimics its environment to hunt?
Mimics. Yes, I like that. I'm going to release this in my dungeon. Nothing could possibly go wrong. That's it? That's how mimics were made?
Yup. 2 millennia later, and those buggers are everywhere.
You totally just made that up.
Don't doubt me, Cloaky. A Kara. Moving on, the next letter in my PISS system is I. I stands for investigate, which is tricky because you need to investigate the object without getting too close to it so it can't eat you, which is where the actual S starts to come in because this S stands for search. And search allows you to search with your eyes, not your hands, your eyes, boy. Because when you search, you can determine whether or not something is off in the environment. You want to look for if it's too clean or if something is sticking to it or something that's just there. Use your eyes and search to determine if something feels off.
So what if my senses and my eyes don't tell me something is up?
When that happens, and it happens all the time because old Greybeard's creations are just too damn good. That's what the final S is for. Because if you've done the perceive, the investigate, and the search, and you still can't tell, you stab it. But not with something that you care about.
Why not?
Because you might not get whatever you stabbed it with back, wizard. Mimics are sticky on the outside, and once you're stuck, they reveal themselves and surprise attack and eat you. Just like a toddler you owe money to. Thankfully, The majority of mimics only have a 5-foot reach, which is why it's very important that you carry a 10-foot pole with you whenever you're in a dungeon.
What do you mean the majority of mimics? Is there more than one type?
Does a mind flayer eat brains? So there I am, bladder full, difficult choice ahead of me. I'm looking at both doors. Perception, they're the same door. Investigation, they're the same. Did I search them? Hell yeah, I did. They're the same.
So you stabbed the doors.
Yep, I stabbed them both, and neither reacted. So I just picked one. And then I got in there, sat down on the toilet, and that is when the mimic got me.
How did you survive that?
Oh, I didn't. I died. For sure, which is why it's very important that you never dungeon alone. So my party's cleric was able to bring me back to life after they killed the toilet. But I'll never forget the feeling of a pseudopod on the bunghole.
So are there toilet mimics?
No, that would be silly. Yeah, as best I can tell, it was a normal mimic that had just flexed itself into a toilet. Although that one was smarter than most because it hid behind a real door. As best I can tell, there are 4 kinds of mimics. Maps, chests, caves, and colonials. Now the most common mimic is the chest, and they come about in one of 2 ways. Either they grow too big and they split like cells, or they have a bunch of adhesive larvae on their skin at all times. And whenever something gets caught in their thing and then gets away, those larvae transfer on the skin and drop off somewhere far away from the parent, like stickers on a dog. It's very similar. Either way, both of these mimics, the chest types, are solitary, and they keep to themselves, kind of like Cloaky here.
I have trust issues, okay?
Life is better when you trust people. Now, chest mimics, they're very easy to deal with, but the larva variety are extra deadly because when the larva falls off of you, they become maps. And maps have this annoying ability to show you the path that they have traveled since they were born or came off the parent mimic. So when you find a map in a dungeon, be very careful because it might just be a mimic. And even worse, it might lead you to the parent mimic.
Noted. Stab maps and use mending to repair it if it's not a mimic.
That is brilliant.
Thanks, Uncle Cletus.
Now, cave mimics, they're rare because a mimic is dumb. So these mimics are smart enough and skilled enough to keep themselves alive for a long time. And instead of splitting like chests normally do, they just grew and grew and grew and then moved to a new location that could sustain their size.
Doesn't that mean they were chests, technically?
Technically, yes. But I consider caves to be their own species because by the time they get to that size, they're usually able to communicate and bargain with adventurers. See, they've worked out by this point that, well, adventurers are deadly. And so to stay alive, they're willing to do what it takes to make a bargain and not get killed. That said, do not take them for granted because they are very deadly. Way more deadly than your normal chest mimic.
Do cave mimics always look like caves?
No, cave mimics don't usually look like caves because you can't move a cave when you're moving around the countryside. Instead, cave mimics take the size of something 35 feet or greater. And honestly, I've seen tavern mimics with tavern keepers living inside them. I've seen cave mimics that mimic hordes that dragons befriend and they get adventurers from stealing the real stuff. I've even seen the cave mimics blend in with sand dunes. But thankfully for all of us, cave mimics are very rare.
So what is a colonial mimic?
An adventurer's worst nightmare. When you find one mimic, it's a bad day. When you find 2 mimics, it's a weird day. But when you find 3 mimics in a short time frame, you best call it a day and get the hell out of there.
Why is that so bad?
Or, I just told you, mimics are solitary creatures and they give each other wide berths. So when you usually only find 1 in a decent sized town. Now, if you find 2 in the same area, it might be a mega dungeon, might be a bigger town. But if you find 3, they are working together. You cannot trust them and you get the hell out of there because they are communicating telepathically.
Wait a second, how did they gain telepathy?
Well, after old Greybeard set his first mimic loose in his dungeon, they split like crazy from all the adventurers trying to get into the treasure vault. And after that, some of them made their way down into the Underdark and found a mind flayer colony. Now, whether the squids experimented on them or they just consumed one too many intellect devourers, we aren't really sure. But what we do know is that when those mimics made their way back topside, they were communicating telepathically and started making colonies.
Creepy.
Boy, you have no idea. A mimic is enough hassle for an average person. I mean, they'll eat like a whole family and still be a little hungry. But mimics that can work together form a sort of hive mind, and they become a scourge upon the land. I remember back in the day, there was this town out in the middle of nowhere, and it got taken over by a colony of mimics, and nobody cared at first because the mimics were only eating the things that people found annoying. The pests, the vermin, the rats. And no one's really gonna complain when the place is a little cleaner and there's less rats running around. But the problem is, mimics always grow. And eventually, they consumed the entire town. We had to call in a meteor swarm from old Graybeard himself in order to cleanse it.
So if we encounter a mimic colony, how do we wipe it out?
You don't. You two are still green enough that you're taking my course, which means you're still green enough to not be able to do this shit on your own. So, if you encounter a mimic colony, you advise the proper authorities and you get the hell out of there, otherwise I'm gonna be pissing on your tombstone. But thankfully, his scaliness destroyed the last colony of mimics about 50 years ago, we think.
So you're trusting the word of a dragon?
His scaliness can be trusted on this, because we paid him very handsomely for the service. But otherwise, I'd agree. Would you look at the time? This lesson has gone on long enough. Y'all need to get out there and confirm this knowledge. It's part of the scaffolding system, you understand. Now, Miss Tilly suspects there might be a mimic in her cellar, and I need you guys to go investigate it, determine if it exists, and then kill it if it does. So remember, if you suspect something in that cellar is a mimic, just piss on it, and you will survive.